It's been an incredibly long day. You've worked your mind to oblivion at your office job. Or maybe you pushed yourself too hard working with people and answering questions in customer service. No matter how you got here, you did. You find yourself back at home, on the couch, and ask, what now? Starting up your hobby, whether it be playing the guitar or maybe knitting or painting something, seems a bit too much for your tired mind. You open your Steam library, and though there's a ton of games there that seem fun, there isn't one that really feels right. It all takes too much thinking. You know that if you launch that game of Factorio, you'll be facing down logistics puzzles that will make your tired brain melt. If you play that platformer, some of the sections will be just too frustrating to really enjoy yourself. So you keep scrolling through Steam. Game after game, nothing. That is, until you happen across Vampire Survivors or Megabonk, Luck Be a Landlord, Balatro, Ball X Pit. Then you hit play. 30 minutes melt away. Your brain feels a little less fried, and you had fun. At the end of the rush, you're left wondering, why? What about that screen full of chaos made me relax? Today, I'd like to discuss the nature of dopamine games and what they're about. From the fast spinning of numbers going up to what actually makes that relaxing. Even if the flashing across the screen and enemies surrounding you seem almost contradictory to the idea of something cozy. Why are these types of games an ideal way to de-stress yourself when everything else is making you feel overwhelmed? Lastly, why do these games matter? So we'll start with the first point. Low ask, high give. A unifying thread tying these types of games together is that getting into the game is simple. You'll boot up Vampire Survivors, pick a character, and then you're on a map, with your first run in mere minutes. There isn't much thought at all other than what seems fun. From the very first page of the game, you're presented with very few options. That leaves you not a lot to think about. And even when picking a character, you aren't committing to some grand, long, multi-hour campaign. You're just picking a character, and you're spending the next 30 minutes playing that character. That type of straight-to-the-game introduction is exactly what someone tired from a long, stressful day needs. For me, I also write on top of a full-time job. Then I also like to do these videos, which takes up a lot of brain power and critical thinking. By the time I get to the end of the day, and I'm sitting there looking for a game to play, I'm running on fumes. Gaming should be relaxing, but sometimes when your brain is so low on energy, it needs to meet you where you're at, when you need it. There's space for games like Crusader Kings, Rimworlds, or even epic RPGs like Breath of the Wild, and I love all of those for their own reasons. Sometimes booting up games like that come with a mental tax, but that's not the case when you boot up Megabonk. You select a character, you level up, even then, you're limited to 3 easy options. And when you make that choice, instant reward. The power rush comes immediately. Each choice brings an impact that eases the horde of enemies rushing against you. And viscerally, as you see yourself tearing through hordes of enemies, the dopamine just spills in. It leads to more levels, which leads to more defeated enemies, which completes the loop, which we'll talk about more in the next section. The main point of these types of games is the feeling of reward. There's something so inherently captivating about clicking a button and then a good thing's happened, that for a tired, overworked brain, it's the exact type of stimulus that you can cope with. But even in that, it doesn't strip us of all decisions, it just narrows the scope, which leads to the reward. You get a screen full of flashing lights, the satisfaction of clearing wave after wave of enemies. The perfect hand in Balatro gets us millions in a single well-played move. The payoff grows exponentially. And the thing is, it's not exactly guaranteed. We can fail a run, 3 minutes into Megabonk, or we can lose a game 2 minutes into Balatro, but it doesn't sting. The consequence here isn't high at all. When you can so easily hit the next button, go back and start again in under a minute and get straight back to that rush of dopamine, losing 2 minutes in doesn't feel bad. There isn't anything quite like it. The core structure of these types of games all lead to one thing. The payoff comes easily. The loop. So if the buy-in to these types of games is so low and the reward is so high, then what is the crux of what leads us to playing them again and again? That would be the structure. The feeling of growing from nothing to something. You begin so weak. You have to carefully dodge enemies, weave around them, and then collect the resources they drop. It's getting the perfect joker. It's making a couple of choices and reaching a point where you can stand your own against a little crowd. Then, you mow that crowd down. You crush that score. You level up, and suddenly you're blasting waves of enemies off the screen. When you hit that point, the high, it's incredible. Your blood rushes, you smile a little bit. Everything you built, tiny decisions, though simple, came together and now feed into a fully functioning, self-sustaining machine. No other game comes close to these brief moments of complete coming together. At no point are you feeling frustrated from being weak, since it's for so short of a time. At no point are you so powerful for so long that you get bored with the gameplay, unless, of course, you master the game and push it to the breaking point, but that's a separate discussion entirely. The loop is meant to be played quickly. Usually it's less than an hour, which strikes a balance for us that gives you the perfect amount of time to immerse yourself, but not disappear for a whole night. It makes it replayable, and the limited nature of the time brings us back to playing old school games, offering the same sort of quick dopamine hits that they did. But in these sorts of games, they take it even further. After you complete the main core gameplay loop of going from weak to strong, you get taken into the meta loop. For Vampire Survivors and Megabonk, that is unlocking new weapons, new characters, and new secrets. Each run you do in the game moves you further along this path, meaning not only are you rewarded with the dopamine in the short-term loop, but also it pays off in the context of the game past that, further compounding the feel-good momentum that the game gives you, since now you get to take what you did in the previous loop and get an advantage in the next loop. Balatro might toss you new jokers to use, new decks to explore, and even challenges to increase the difficulty. Luckily, a landlord rewards essences and new tokens as you win games. Some in this genre don't even have that meta loop, and typically those fall under the more mindless hit things category, such as Paint the Town Red, which you can play and get thrown into an immediate power fantasy. But without the meta loop, like in those old school games, the core experience tends not to have as much replayability as others that achieve this combination of two cycling loops. The thing is, these loops feed into one another and they only benefit from that. One loop advances you to the other, which progresses you and moves you back into their loop, making an effective yet simple strategy to make you keep wanting to play. You don't have to think much. You keep playing again and again forever, and your dopamine is blasted from all angles. Which gets us to the last point, why it matters. So we've covered what about these games makes them so easy to access and jump right in. Then we've gone over how they work and how it gets your dopamine to flow. But the next is the most important point. By reducing all points of friction and letting a tired mind feel a sense of progress, you have a perfect vehicle to break the vicious cycle of scrolling and just get into a game. For me, the realization that at the end of a tough day, I shouldn't be sitting there looking at Crusader Kings and feeling guilty for not playing it and having fun when my sole job that night was to relax was confusing. I knew on some days I could pass hours away solving problems and enjoying myself with my favorite games. Other days, I couldn't. So why then, on those tough days, could I not convince myself to just get started? I'd given myself permission to sit down and enjoy a game, so why was the act of even trying to take time to relax and play a game I knew I liked causing me to be frustrated? Because deep down, the exhausted part of me knew my favorite type of game forced me to solve complex problems. In that state, it wasn't really relaxation. It's important for us all to realize that sometimes the best type of game for a situation where we're worn out is one that we can boot up and get mainlined into some good number goes up fun. There's still space in our lives for a lot of types of games. Maybe you have a nice Saturday evening where nothing is going on and it's the perfect time to play an RPG. Or maybe it's a nice Monday and it hasn't been that hard and you hook up a cozy game that will take 3 hours away before you know what's happening. What matters the most is understanding what types of games you have, what they do for you, and your relationships to them. Be kind to yourself in knowing that what's best for your brain is to unwind and relax, and sometimes that means playing a dopamine game. For me, the limited nature of time that these sorts of games take means that at the end of a busy day, I can fit in Megabonk in 30 minutes. And that might be the perfect way to end the afternoon. If you aren't enjoying your games or picking the right ones for you, and you're just scrolling, then what's the point? Conclusion. What I call dopamine games are really just an addictive format of mostly roguelike games that allow us to unwind and enjoy the simple pleasures of playing a game. There's no stress when it comes to these types of games, which is awfully ironic since they often fill the screen with enemies and flashing lights, but oddly, those lights are comfortable. They tell us everything is alright, that things are going well, and with each flash and defeated enemy, we're brought a little more into a state of relaxation that lets us step outside of ourselves and into a state of focus and pure gameplay that makes our real problems melt away for some time. The beauty of these games is that they're simple. They're easy to set down for a while, then come back to when you're stressed out. Every time you do, there's another small goal to walk towards, something to build to, another secret to discover. Next time you're sitting there staring at your Steam page, ask yourself, really no game to play and you need a new one? Or are you staring because deep down you know that your usual go-tos are just a little bit more complicated than you can handle that night? If so, maybe then you should consider what type of game is so low effort and so high reward and so easy to get into that you can instantly be sucked into a state of relaxation. Pick a game you don't even need to think about, then enjoy. Let me know down below what your go-to dopamine games are, which are your favorites, and also if you like the video, please consider subscribing if you do. I'm having a lot of fun making these and I'm interested in making more. Every comment or new subscriber is a great motivation and lets me know that you guys are enjoying watching them too. Until next time, thank you so much for watching.